Python errors and exceptions. When writing a program and executing it, we often encounter errors. An error caused by not following the proper structure or the syntax of the language is called the syntax error or the parsing error. So, whenever we are writing one code and if the code is not properly written in the respective syntax as provided by Python, then obviously we are getting some syntax error. What is the meaning of the term syntax? Syntax means grammar. So, the grammar which you are supposed to follow to write the statements in our Python programming, if you do not follow that one, then syntax error may take place. So, sometimes during runtime some other errors may take place and they can be also called as a semantic errors. So, syntax errors, semantic errors are there. So, while writing our programs in any programming languages, these sort of errors may come into the play. So, example, if we miss this colon in the if statement, then the if imports are not proper, etc. So, example, if we miss colon in the if statement, then such error may take place, or if the imports are not proper, then the errors may take place. Now, these are the errors. Now, what are the exceptions? So, exceptions are being raised whenever you are having erroneous conditions. So, now let us discuss our Python exceptions. Here we are having some Python built-in exceptions. So, just consider this exception and cause of error. So, one is the assertion error raised when assert statement fails. So, we are having a separate video to discuss on this assertion. Please watch that one, and if the assertion is causing failure, then this assertion error will be raised. Next one is the attribute error raised when the attribute assignment or the reference fails. Now, next one is the EOF error, that is the end of file error raised when the input function hits the end of the file and it is trying to read some content from the file. So, in that case obviously the file has got exhausted, and so the error will be raised, the exception will be raised, and that is known as EOF error. Next one is the floating point error raised when a floating point operation fails. Generator exit, so raised when a generator's closed method is called. So, that is the generator exit. Next one is import error raised when the imported module is not found. Let us suppose we are trying to import NumPy module, but the NumPy module is not present, then obviously the import error will come into the play. So, next one is the index error raised when the index of a sequence is out of the range. Let us suppose we are having only 5 elements in the sequence, but you want to extract or you want to pick up the 10th element from the sequence. So, obviously it will produce some index error. So, let us go for one practical demonstration for the better understanding of this file of this Python errors and exceptions. In this session, we are discussing Python errors and exceptions. Under the try block, we have written a is equal to one string here, and we are trying to convert this string to the integer, and the assigned value will be assigned onto the variable b. But here you see one exception will be raising because we cannot convert high to an integer. So, let us execute this code and let us see that what will happen. Here you see this particular try block has got followed by the except block. So, this except block will be initiated whenever we are having some error, within the try block. So, what has happened, you see, whenever you are trying to convert this a to the integer, it has produced one error, and that is why the control has come directly to this exception block. So, here this exception block will be denoted by except and colon will be there. If I write here one statement, you can find that this statement is not getting executed. That means from this particular line where that exception has been, the error has been raised, automatically the control has come to the except block and leaving the rest part of the try block unexecuted and unreachable. But if I convert this one as 100, if I write this one as 100, you can find that I am here is getting printed. That means the full try block has got executed, but exception block, the except block has got not executed here, because there is no exception to convert 100, which is in the form of string, to integer and assign it to b. So also we can print the value of b here. you can find that the b is equal to 100 is getting printed. So in this way we have shown you that how this try and except blocks are working here. If I convert it to high once again, you can find that except block is getting control. So next one is this one. So catching specific exception. So here a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 0, and we are trying to do a by b. So as b is equal to 0 here, so a by b will produce one exception. Here this particular error we have given the name, that is the 0 division error. So division by 0 is not possible, that is the message to be printed here. So let us go for the execution. You can find that division by 0 is not possible. So if I want to print the value of C, you can find that this particular line has become unreachable. But if I make this one say 500 and if I make this one say 10, in that case obviously the except 0 division error, that block will not get the control and it will print the required value for C as 50 here. So that is our catching specific exception. So again you are making this one as 0. You can find that it is printing that division by 0 is not possible, and that means the except block is getting the control whenever we are trying to divide a by 0 here, b is equal to 0 here. So now let us go for the another one. So exception can be raised also. In our code we can raise some exceptions. So let us suppose within the try block we have raised one exception, one error, that is a type error, and except block is handling that type error, and this particular message is going to get printed. So that means we can also raise our error within the try block, and except block should have that particular error code, and that's why the respective body will be executed. So here you see we are having this type error. Instead of this type error, if we keep only this except, then also the code will produce this one. Otherwise you can mention except type error, then also the control will be coming to this block and type error exception caught, that message will get printed. So now let us go for try and finally. So within the try block we have written print in try block, and here you see there is no exception has been raised. So what will happen after execution of the try block, then the finally block will be executed. Except block will not be executed because no error has been raised here. So what will happen, the try block will get executed and the finally block will get executed. So let us go for the execution. So in try block, in the finally block, you can find this. But if you raise one error, using this code, that is raise type error, then what will happen, the try block will be executed. That means this particular code will be printed, this particular statement or string will get printed, and then this raise type error, so control will come to this except and see what happens. You can find that in try block, in except block, in the finally block. That means finally block will be executed in spite of the fact whether any error has occurred within the try block or not. So that means finally block is that very block which is supposed to get executed always, irrespective of the fact whether any error has occurred within the try block or not. Let us suppose within the try block we are opening one data file. How to open one data file, how to perform the read and write operations, we have discussed that one in the previous videos. So let us suppose we are opening one data file. The data file will be open within the try block, and we are trying to read or write from the data file. Let us suppose there is some error has occurred while reading the data file. Some portion of the data file has fallen on the bad sector of the hard disk. In that case what will happen, some IO error will take place. So in that case what will happen, the exception will be raised and control will come to the except block. But in the finally block we will be keeping always the F close. That means the closing of the file, that very method will be called from the finally block. So what will happen, whenever some error has occurred within the try block, then except block will get the control and ultimately the file will be closed. But while performing the reading or writing operation from the data file, which is there, the code has been written within the try block, if there is no error has occurred, then only also the finally block will get the control and the file will be closed accordingly. So that means those particular codes or statements which are supposed to get executed irrespective of the fact whether errors are occurring or not, they must be written under the finally block. So in this way, in this particular demonstration, we have given you the idea what is the purpose of try block, except block and the finally block. Thanks for watching this video.